It's hard to explain why I moved there in the first place. You know how it is when you're fresh out of a breakup and you just need space? You need walls that haven't absorbed the sound of your arguments yet. You need a ceiling that doesn't remind you of sleepless nights, staring up at patterns you've memorized. I just wanted a blank slate. That's what this apartment was supposed to be. A blank slate. It was on the third floor of this old, converted brick building downtown. High ceilings, exposed ductwork, that industrial chic look that real estate agents love to overcharge for. But the rent was actually decent. Suspiciously decent, maybe. I don't know. At the time, I told myself it was just luck. Just a bit of cosmic balance swinging back in my favor after 6 months of hell. I remember the day I got the keys. It was a Tuesday. I took off work early to move the last few boxes in. My friends had helped with the furniture over the weekend, so it was just the small stuff left. Books, kitchen gadgets, the fragile things I didn't trust anyone else to carry. I was happy, I think. Or maybe just relieved. By the time I finished unpacking the essentials, it was dark. Like pitch black outside. The streetlights in that part of the city are kind of yellow and sickly, and they don't really reach the third floor. I hadn't put up curtains yet. That's one of those things that haunts me now. If I had put up curtains, maybe I wouldn't have felt so exposed. Or maybe I wouldn't have noticed the reflection. Anyway, I was sweaty. Gross sweaty. Moving boxes in July is a nightmare, even with the AC blasting. And the AC in this place was loud. It was this old window unit that rattled like a dying engine every time the compressor kicked on. It's funny what you remember. I remember the sound of that AC more vividly than I remember my own phone number sometimes. Thrum rattle from. A constant, mechanical heartbeat. I decided to take a shower. The bathroom was at the end of a long hallway. The layout of the apartment was like a shotgun-style living room at the front, kitchen in the middle, bedroom, then this long, narrow hall leading to the bathroom at the very back. It felt secluded, private. I locked the front door. I know I did. That's the thing I tell myself every single night when I lie awake. I distinctly remember the weight of the deadbolt turning. I remember the click. I even jiggled the handle. I've always been a bit paranoid about safety, you know? Living alone as a woman, you develop these habits. You check things. You double-dash check, so I locked the door. I'm sure of it. I went to the bathroom, stripped off my sticky clothes, and turned the water on hot. I wanted to steam the stress out of my pores. I wanted to wash the old apartment, the breakup, the moving dust, all of it down the drain. The bathroom didn't have a window, just a small ventilation fan that screamed when you flipped a switch. I didn't turn it on. I wanted the quiet. Well, relative quiet. Just the water hitting the tiles. I got in. I closed the shower curtain. It was one of those cheap, opaque plastic ones. White. You couldn't see through it, but if the light was on, you could see shadows if something was close enough. I stood there for a long time, just letting the water beat against my neck. I felt safe. The bathroom is supposed to be the safest place, right? You're naked, you're vulnerable, but you're also enclosed. It's a sanctuary. I was washing my hair, eyes closed, shampoo running down my face. When I heard it, it was a thump. Heavy, dull. I froze. My hands were still in my hair, suds dripping into my ears. I held my breath, straining to hear over the roar of the shower. Nothing. Just the water. It's the building, I told myself. It's old. The neighbors upstairs probably dropped a book or walked too hard. The pipes in these old places bang around when the hot water runs too long. Hydraulic shock. That's what it's called. I tried to be logical. I'm a logical person. I work in data analysis. I deal with facts, not boogeymen. I went back to rinsing my hair, but the relaxation was gone. You know that feeling when the air in a room suddenly feels heavier? Charged? The water felt colder, even though I hadn't touched the dial. Asterisk, asterisk. Then, the pressure changed dot, just for a second. The water flow dipped, like someone had turned on a faucet somewhere else in the apartment. My heart did this stutter step in my chest. If I lived in a massive complex, water pressure fluctuations would be normal. But this was a small building, and the pressure drop was significant. It meant water was being used close by kitchen sink, I thought. Did I leave it dripping? No, that wouldn't cause a drop like that. Maybe the toilet tank was refilling? I peeked out from behind the curtain at the toilet. The water in the bowl was still. Silent. Double quotes. Hello? I called out. My voice sounded small. Pathetic, really. It bounced off the tile and died. Why did I call out? Who did I expect to answer? A ghost? A burglar? Oh, sorry, just robbing you. Carry on. I turned the water off. That sudden silence is the loudest thing in the world. The transition from the deafening roar of the shower to absolute, pin-drop silence is disorienting. Drip, drip. That was all I heard. And the AC unit. Way off in the living room. THRUM dash, rattle dash THRUM dot. I stood there, dripping wet, shivering. The steam was starting to dissipate. I wrapped my arms around myself. I felt stupid. I was standing naked in my bathtub, terrified of a noise that was probably just the pipes. Get a grip, I whispered. I reached for my towel. It was hanging on the hook on the back of the door. I had to step out of the tub to get it. I pulled back the curtain. The mirror was fogged up completely. The air was thick and humid. I stepped onto the bath mat, soaking it instantly. I grabbed the towel and wrapped it tight around me, like armor. It was flimsy armor, but it was better than nothing. I wiped a circle in the condensation on the mirror to see my face. I looked pale. My eyes were wide, rimmed with red from the shampoo and the heat. I looked like a victim already. I hated that look. I decided I needed to check the apartment, just to be sure. I couldn't relax until I knew the door was still locked. I opened the bathroom door. The hallway was dark. I hadn't turned the light on in the hall because, well, I didn't think I'd need it. The light from the bathroom spilled out, creating this long, stretched trapezoid of illumination on the hardwood floor. Beyond that, just shadows. Is anyone there? I asked again, louder this time, more authoritative. Or at least, I tried to sound authoritative. It came out shaky. Silence. I took a step into the hall. The floorboards creaked. A yee creak. I hated that floorboard. I walked slowly. My bare feet stuck slightly to the varnish. The air in the hallway was significantly cooler than the bathroom. It raised goosebumps on my arms and legs. I reached the bedroom door. It was open. I peered inside. Just boxes. My mattress on the floor because I hadn't set up the frame yet. The streetlights outside cast these long skeletal shadows of tree branches against the far wall. They moved in the wind, scratching, grasping. Nothing there. I kept moving. Past the kitchen. I stopped. The kitchen light. I had left it on. I was sure I had left it on. I specifically remember leaving it on because I hate walking into a dark kitchen. I wanted to be able to grab a glass of water. Later, without stumbling. It was off. The kitchen was pitch black. My stomach dropped. I mean, it literally felt like my insides turned to liquid and fell into my feet. I stood there, paralyzed. My mind started racing, trying to find a logical explanation. Bulb burned out? It was a new apartment, but old fixtures. Maybe the bulb just popped. Yeah, that had to be it. I reached around the corner, my hand trembling, feeling for the switch. I found it. It was in the down position. Off. The switch was physically flipped off. Bulbs don't flip switches when they burn out. I couldn't breathe. I literally forgot how to inhale. My lungs were frozen. Someone was here. Or maybe I was crazy. Maybe I did turn it off. I was tired, exhausted from the move. Maybe I flipped it off out of habit when I walked to the back. Muscle memory? I tried to cling to that. I had to, because the alternative was that I was standing in a towel, unarmed, in a hallway with a stranger. Asterisk, I flipped the switch up. The light flooded the kitchen. It was blindingly bright. I scanned the room. Countertops cluttered with boxes. Toaster. Coffee maker. Everything looked normal. Wait, my keys. I had thrown my keys on the island counter when I walked in. I have this heavy keychain with a little pepper spray canister attached to it. Pink. Bright. Pink. They weren't on the island. I scanned the counters. The table. The floor. Gone. Asterisk. Okay, I whispered. Okay. I backed away from the kitchen. My eyes were darting everywhere. Every shadow looked like a man. Every pile of boxes looked like a crouching figure. I needed my phone. My phone. Where was my phone? I left it charging. In the living room. On the floor by the outlet, next to the TV stand. The living room was past the kitchen. To get to it, I had to walk past the open archway of the kitchen, past the front door, into the main space. If someone was in the living room, I couldn't go there. I couldn't stay here in the hall. It was a choke point. If someone came from the living room, I'd be trapped in the back of the apartment. Asterisk. I needed a weapon. I looked around. There was nothing in the hall. I backed into the bedroom. I remembered I had unpacked a box of tools earlier. A hammer. I had a hammer somewhere. I scrambled to the corner where I'd stacked the misc boxes. It was dark in the room, lit only by the streetlights and the spill from the hallway. I fell to my knees, tearing at the cardboard flaps. My fingernails ripped against the tape. It was too loud. The sound of tearing tape echoed like a gunshot in the quiet apartment. Shut up. I found it. The hammer. It felt heavy and cold. It grounded me a little. I had a claw hammer. I could do damage. I stood up, gripping the rubber handle so hard my knuckles turned white. I crept back to the doorway of the bedroom. I listened. SC Rich. It came from the living room. It was the sound of fabric rubbing against fabric, like denim shifting on a sofa. He was in the living room, sitting, waiting. Why? Why wasn't he attacking? Why turn off the light and then just sit there? That was the part that terrified me the most. It wasn't frantic. It was patient. It felt like a game. A game I didn't know the rules to. I couldn't get to the front door. He was between me and the exit. The fire escape. The bedroom window had a fire escape. I turned back to the window. The glass was old wavy. I could see the metal grate outside. I moved toward it. I tried to be silent, but my wet feet made little sticking sounds on the floor. Pat, pat, pat. I reached the window. I unlocked the sash lock at the top. It was stiff. I pushed. It didn't budge. Paint. The landlord had painted over the frame. It was sealed shut with layers of cheap white latex paint. I pushed harder. My arm shook. I gritted my teeth, straining, pushing upward with everything I had. Nothing. It was solid as a wall. Panic started to set in properly now. The kind of panic that makes your vision tunnel. I was trapped. 3rd floor. No exit. A man in my living room. I could break the glass. With the hammer. But that would be loud. He'd hear it. He'd be in the room before I could clear the shards and climb out. And the grate. Sometimes those fire escape windows have bars on the inside too? I hadn't checked. I couldn't see through the grime clearly. If I broke the glass and there were bars, I'd just be making noise and removing my only barrier. I needed to hide. The closet. The bedroom had a walk-in closet. It was small, filled with my hanging clothes and a bunch of unpacked boxes on the floor. I slipped inside. I pulled the door shut, leaving just a tiny crack so I could see. I didn't click it closed because I was afraid the latch would make a noise. I buried myself behind a wall of winter coats. Puffy jackets, wool trenches. They smelled like mothballs and cedar. I crouched down in the corner, pulling my knees to my chest. The hammer was raised in my right hand, trembling near my ear. I waited. Time gets weird when you're hiding. Seconds feel like hours. Every beat of my heart felt like it was shaking my entire body. Thump, 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 thump. It was so loud. Surely he could hear it. Surely the neighbors could hear it. I heard footsteps, not trying to be quiet anymore. Heavy boot steps. Clomp, clomp, clomp. Coming down the hallway. He stopped at the kitchen. I saw the light from the hallway flicker as his shadow passed through it. He was big, broad shoulders. I couldn't see his face, just the shape of him cast against the floorboards. He paused. I heard the fridge open, the seal popping, the hum of the refrigerator motor changing pitch, bottles clinking. He was getting a drink. He was making himself at home. That arrogance. It made me sick. He wasn't afraid of getting caught. He knew I was alone. He knew I was trapped. The fridge door closed. The footsteps started. Again. Closer. He was at the bedroom doorway. I stopped breathing. I pressed my hand over my mouth to stifle a whimper that was building in my throat. Tears were streaming down my face, hot and fast. He stepped into the room. The floorboards bowed under his weight. He walked to the center of the room. I could see him through the crack in the closet door. Just slivers of him. Dark jeans. Work boots. A dark hoodie. He was holding something. Not a weapon. My phone. He had my phone. The screen lit up. The blue light illuminated his chin. He was smiling. Not a crazy grin. Just a small, satisfied smirk. He tapped the screen. Suddenly, a sound filled the apartment. Ring, ring. He was calling someone? No. My pocket. Well, I didn't have a pocket. But a vibration buzzed against the floorboards inside the closet. Right next to my foot. My smartwatch. I had taken it off and put it on a shelf in the closet when I was unpacking. I forgot it was there. It was connected to my phone via Bluetooth. He was using the Find My Watch feature. He knew. He knew exactly where I was. The buzzing was deafening. BZZT. 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 He didn't rush. He turned slowly toward the closet door. He looked right at the crack. Right at my eye. He saw me. He didn't lunge. He just took one step toward the door. Found you, he whispered. His voice was gravel, rough, like he hadn't used it in days. I screamed. It was a primal thing. I kicked the door open, swinging the hammer blindly. I didn't hit him. He stepped back, easily dodging my clumsy swing. I scrambled out of the closet, slipping on the hardwood, flailing. I just wanted to get past him. To the hall. To the door. He laughed. A low, dry chuckle. I scrambled to my feet and ran. I expected him to grab me. I expected hands on my bare shoulders, pulling me back. But he didn't grab me. I ran down the hallway, my feet slapping the wood. I burst into the living room. The front door was wide open. It was wide open to the night air. I didn't stop to think. I ran out into the corridor of the building, screaming, "Fire! Fire! Help!" I banged on the neighbor's door, the one across the hall. I hammered on it with the claw hammer until the wood splintered. "Open the door! Please!" I heard voices inside, a chain rattling. The door opened a crack. An old woman peered out, eyes wide. "Help me! He's in there!" I shrieked, pushing my way into her apartment before she could stop me. I collapsed on her entryway rug, clutching the hammer, my towel falling off, sobbing hysterically. The police came. They swept the apartment. He was gone. But here's the thing. Here's the part that keeps me on medication to this day. They found footprints. Muddy boot prints. They found them in the living room, in the kitchen, in the bedroom. But they also found them in the bathroom. Not after. I got out. Before. The prints were behind the shower curtain, tucked into the corner of the tub on the dry end. He had been in the bathroom with me when I was showering? No, the prints were dry. He had been hiding in the shower before I got in. When I pulled the curtain back to get in, I must have only pulled it halfway. I was so tired. I didn't look. I just stepped in under the water. He was standing there, inches from me, while I washed my hair. While I closed my eyes, the noise I heard, the thump, that was him stepping out of the tub while the water was running. That was him stepping onto the bath mat while I had soap in my eyes. He watched me. He stood there and watched me naked, defenseless. And then he quietly left the bathroom, walked down the hall, turned off the lights, and waited for me to finish. The police said he must have come in while I was bringing boxes up. The door was propped open for minutes at a time. He slipped in, hid in the shower, and waited. They never caught him. No prints on the door handles. He wore gloves. No face on the security cameras. They were dummies. Just plastic shells. I moved out the next day. I left everything. The furniture, the clothes, the books. I couldn't touch any of it. It felt tainted. Like he had touched everything. I live with my sister now, in a house with a serious alarm system, motion sensors, glass break detectors, but I still can't shower alone. I can't close my eyes when the water is running. I have to have a clear glass shower door. No curtains. Never curtains. And even then, sometimes, over the sound of the water, I swear I can hear breathing. I swear I can feel the air pressure drop, like someone just stepped into the room. I know he's not there. Logically, I know. But logic didn't save me that night. Luck did. Or maybe he just wanted to play. Maybe he wanted me to run. He knows what I look like. He knows my fear. And somewhere out there, he's probably walking past another building, looking for another open door, another distracted girl, another shower running in the dark. I check the locks 5 times a night. Click, 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 click. But it doesn't matter, because the lock only keeps them out if they aren't already inside.